Welcome to the Complete Card Dealer Pro and PaperStream Capture course. In this course, we're going to learn everything that is Card Dealer Pro, from the most basic introduction to magic scans, creating batches, templates, and more, from a beginner to a professional level. We'll go over some key settings for PaperStream Capture that everyone should use, to how I personally use PaperStream Capture and the 8170 from Ricoh to seamlessly scan my cards and prepare them for Card Dealer Pro. And by the end of this course, we're going to have your cards listed on eBay to sell. Along the way, we're going to show you how to manage batches, create custom SKUs, why they're useful, and even export a CSV file to eBay. Now, you don't need any previous computer knowledge or Card Dealer Pro experience to follow along. This course will cover everything that you need to learn Card Dealer Pro and PaperStream Capture. We're going to start from the very basics, and we're going to build our way up, step by step. We're going to learn the major features for both softwares and how to use Card Dealer Pro together with eBay and eventually Collects. These are the topics we'll learn in this course. Later in the video, we'll learn skills that are useful for more larger and more complex tasks. So with that said, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is head to google.com, and in the search bar, we're going to type 8170 drivers and press enter. The first search result you should see is drivers and software downloads. We're going to go ahead and click this. And then in this case, we're using the fi-8170, but this works for any FI series, as you'll see here in a moment. So just click on download right here. And then at the top, we're going to hit the select our series drop down. And again, I'm going to use the 8000 series because we're using the 8170. But if you have a different version of the scanner, you're welcome to use any of those here. So we're going to hit the 8000 series. We're going to select our 8170 scanner. And then over here, I happen to be using Windows 10, but whatever operating system you're using should be able to follow along relatively well. So I'm going to hit Windows 10. We're going to display software list. This one here is going to tell your computer that the Ricoh scanner is connected to your computer, and it's going to use the drivers appropriate for that. This one down here is the software we need that's going to allow us to go in and scan and capture the images, adjust the images as we need, so on and so forth. So we're going to need to download both. Just hit download right up here. And then we're going to select this top option here. This will be the most easiest way to do it. Is make sure you select the one that is the .exe. Go ahead and click that. I'm going to save it right here just in my downloads. You can save it wherever you'd like. Okay, while that's downloading there, we can just hit the back button here right at the top, up in the upper left. And then we can go right over here to PaperStream Capture. And then we're going to click download. And then here we're going to input the serial number of our device, and it shows, the screen shows us exactly where you can find any of them. You can use the touch screen, you can use the back of the device or the side. So find yours right now, plug that in, and then we'll continue. Once you've input your serial number and you're on this screen here, we're just going to select again the exe version. Just click on that. And then again, I'm just going to put it in my downloads folder. That's fine for now. And then just hit save. Okay, now that both of those are downloaded, you can browse to the folder that they're in, or you can click this icon right at the top here to bring down your downloads folder. And then you can move over to the exe executable and just click it one time. And it'll start downloading the drivers for you. You'll see this pop up right here. Just select next. And you can see for me, it shows installation is not necessary because they're already installed. But for you, just select the PaperStream IP, select next, and follow the remaining prompts to get that installed for you. After that's done, we can go back up to the downloads at the top here, and we're going to want to install the PaperStream Capture software itself. So that's this file here. Again, we're just going to click on it one time. Go ahead and hit yes or accept to any of the messages that show up. You'll see this pop-up show up. Just let that load. So this is the screen you'll get to, the PaperStream Capture install screen. Just go ahead and hit accept. If you have the Pro version, follow the bullet point for the Pro. If not, basic is more than adequate and is enough for all the things you should need in order to list cards on eBay. Basic is what I use and what I have. So from there, just hit install and follow the prompts. The first thing we're going to want to do is open PaperStream Capture. If you haven't changed any settings previously, this should be the screen that you would see when you first open PaperStream Capture. You should see all the different profiles here, as well as scan, batch manager, and so on. However, for our needs, this screen is too simplified. We don't want to use this screen. Instead, we want to use switch modes over here. This brings up a slightly more advanced screen for us to use. It allows us to have a thumbnail view of the cards here and an individual view of the cards here, which we'll see in a moment. However, before we begin, the first thing you'll notice is configure before a scan is highlighted. This is fairly useful, as you'll see in a moment, as it creates a splash screen or a window that will appear and give us a few options in case we decide to change a profile or some other things. So very useful to leave this highlighted. Ensure you've selected whatever Ricoh Fujitsu scanner you have using PaperStream Capture. Then we are going to select scanner settings right here. Once you've selected scan settings, this window will appear. The first thing you might notice on mine is that output as a file during scan is grayed out. This is because when you're scanning cards, if you need to change orientation, it'll automatically save the file before you have a chance to change orientation. So by leaving this unchecked, it gives us a chance to see the condition of the cards, the orientation of the cards, and then we decide when the cards are saved onto a file. Important thing, which we'll note later, is changing it to JPEG over PDF. So that'll be in a separate option since we have this grayed out currently. You can always enable it and change it real quick, but I'll show you how to ensure we do that later properly. Then the next thing to be mindful of is the scanner driver profile. You can see here there's quite a few. Some of them are default up to here, and then the rest are ones that I've created for either Chrome Prism cards, paper cards. I've also done a card size test, which means I've changed it from the default 8.5 by 11 letter size to the 3.5, 2.5 penny sleeve size, not the size of the card, but for the penny sleeve. I can show you that as well, but I tend to use paper cards quite a bit, unless obviously I have a batch of just Chrome or Prism, then I use Chrome or Prism. So for now, we'll use paper cards and we'll click into scanner settings. A new window opens up with more advanced settings. In this case, right now, the profile that we're changing would be for paper cards. Some of the important things to make sure are selected for you, if they're not already, is paper source needs to be set on feeder both sides because we want to have the front and back of all of our cards. I personally use resolution 400 DPI. Just that tinge of extra resolution is helpful. I don't notice any file size difference. I don't notice really any speed slowdown during the scan. So I just have a tiny little bump for 400 DPI. But everybody, any other tutorial you're going to see, anybody you ask, 300 DPI is perfectly fine. Certainly no reason to go beyond 600 as well, conversely. So if you want to go and have a higher DPI, increases your resolution, but also a little bit higher file size, and you can do 600 DPI. Paper size, again, that's where I said you can choose to do 3.5 by 2.5 here, but really I haven't found any need for it. Everything seems to be cropped properly and the margins are set properly, which we'll show in a minute, leaving it just as 8.5 by 11, but you can do either one. Over an image, the important factors within image are the prioritizing color adjustment. So you want to make sure these are what I use again for paper cards. So 160 brightness, 220 contrast, 20 shadow, 255 highlight, and 1.52 gamma. Some of the things that are not personal preference and are almost mandatory would be cropping. You want to leave cropping to automatic size. So that's where it's going to take the 8.5 by 11 paper source that we'd had and convert it automatically down to the size of the penny sleeve that you use. The reason I don't always use 3.5 to 2.5 and I leave it as it is currently is because in case you use top loaders or if you use card savers or anything like that, you want to make sure the cropping is set to automatic. So being 8.5 by 11 automatically creates a large enough source for the machine to receive. And then because we've selected cropping on automatic size, it'll adjust it down based on card saver, top loader, penny sleeve, or a naked card. So it doesn't matter how that goes. Margin is important. You want to make sure your margin is set to 2 millimeters. That's going to create the nice black border around the cards that you'll see here in a minute when we do our sample. And then here you can choose between priority of speed and accuracy. So I leave it on speed. I haven't noticed any difference right now, but you can. If you start noticing it grabbing a few more cards, if you start noticing it having items being askewed, you can start using accuracy instead, right? Another thing to be mindful of is making sure rotation is set to automatic. One setting that is absolutely crucial and must be turned off is edge correction. So edge correction, if you have scanned with it on, or you have noticed some of your cards coming out with a blur around them and not seeing a margin set, even though you set one and you're not sure what's happening and you're thinking there might be an issue with the glass or the scanner or whatever it might be, 99% it's because edge correction was not turned off. So turning edge correction off will remove that blur around the cards. It's just better all around. It'll enable the margin around it for the black border. Edge correction just has to be turned off. Hole punch removal also needs to be set to off. So initially, the 8170 and other scanners by Fujitsu and Ricoh were created as medical scanners. So they have this option from the factory on by default. But for us, certainly no hole punches in our cards. We don't need hole punch removal off for sure. The other settings are very minor. You don't need to do anything to here, but if you want to see, these are all default for me. There's nothing that I've changed within these settings. They're all default. Now that we're ready, we can hit OK. And then this leaves us to our scanning screen, right? So we want to make sure that we want the images to be displayed once we scan them. So display scan images is checked and we hit OK. Now, the next option is over here, and that is scan. So once we click this, it's going to communicate with our 8170. It's going to take whatever cards are in the feeder, if any, and it's going to start scanning. This is the way we want to function as we're doing our cards and our scans daily. We don't want to be using any of the buttons on our scanner. We want to be using this button directly to create those, and I'll show you why here in a second. So let's move over to the scanner and let's begin. All right, now that we made our way over to the 8170, we have the 15 Tom Brady cards that we're going to use. Most of them are paper cards, but I am adding one kind of chrome card here so you can kind of see what it's like if you have paper card settings but you add one chrome. You'll see it'll come out a little darker than we'd like, but the majority of the cards being paper, we're going to use the paper settings for that. So there's 15 of them here. We're going to put them all face down and also landscape like this. So they all just go right in here, just like this. We don't use any of the buttons on the machine here. Everything's going to be done over on the PaperStream Capture. So, all right, now that we are back over here to PaperStream Capture, what we want to use is the scan here in the upper left-hand corner. Because we have configured before a scan is highlighted, when we press scan, it's going to bring up this pop-up window here. And then you'll notice the top options here for me are grayed out. We'll be able to select that here in a minute. Output as a file during scan is unchecked. That's intentional because I want to make sure that everything is set properly when I'm ready to go. Because as you're going to see when we scan, the cards might show up, landscape cards might show up as portrait, might show up as upside down. There might be some anomaly. And if we have this checked, it's going to save our scan as soon as we hit scan. So by unchecking this, this gives us an option to review all of our scans before we end up saving, and then it lets us choose when and how we're going to save them. So that's why we want to leave this unchecked. Again, we're going to use paper cards here, and then I'm going to display the scanned images because I want to see the cards as they're scanned. You don't have to, but I do. So we're going to go ahead now and hit scan. And because we have the cards loaded in the feeder over on the 8170, by hitting scan here, all 15 cards should show up. And we're going to see here they start coming in. We can see a few of them already not coming in properly, but some others are. So pretty decent. So once we have all 30 here, front and back, so 15 cards is 30 front and back, we'll scroll right up to the top. And then here's our Chrome card that's showing up, like I said, a little bit dark, but the back still shows up pretty fantastic. We have a nice margin on the background, so really happy with that. Tom Brady sideways here. There's a button at the top. We're just going to use rotate, and then that puts it right into frame. So nice card there. This one didn't pick up the landscape versus portrait. It put it as landscape, so we'll just adjust that. So the front is portrait and the back is landscape, as you can see. So that's all correct. This is good. This one we're going to have to flip a few times, so just press it 3 times here just to get it proper rotation. This one here will rotate back into position. This one picked up fine. This one no problem. This one also. So pretty good here. Tom Brady's upside down on this one. So we're just going to right side up there. But it noticed that the back was portrait and put that automatically. So good job using it there. This one here did perfect, right? Picked the portrait for the front, and then it also recognized landscape on the side. But we got to adjust this one here to rotate here. These are all good. These two are good. So now what we want to do, now that we're happy with them all, we're happy with the 15 cards that we have set. No other changes are going to be done. We're not going to remove anything or rescan. What we want to do at this point, once we're happy with the 15 cards, is we want to go and click save. So when we click save, so this window here has an output as file. Now you'll notice I have a folder already set, but I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. The file name, I use card01, and I'll show you that here now in the advanced settings. So here are the advanced settings, and if you notice at the top, I use a file name rule. And what I do is I've changed, if this is the first time you're in this menu, yours most likely says image right here. And I've gone in and changed it to say card, just arbitrarily, right? It doesn't mean anything. You can have it say anything you'd like, but I've changed it to say card. And then because I don't really need to scan more than 999 cards at a time, or that's my comfort level, I've reduced the minimum digits here on both sides to 3 from 4, right? So yours might say 4 at this point, but you can lower it to 3 or 2 or whatever your comfort level is. But I don't really have any intentions on scanning more than 40, 50 cards in a batch or at a time. I think that's a good kind of threshold for Card Dealer Pro, and it's something I'm comfortable with. So you can, of course, scan much more and deal in batches much larger, but that's usually what I do. So leaving it 3 digits gives me enough room for 999 cards, right? So way higher than what I want. So once we're done with that, go back over here. Here's where we want to make sure that we use as a JPEG, not as a PDF. And then make sure you're just selecting the traditional JPEG, not JPEG 2000. So just select the traditional JPEG. And here's where you would put whatever folder structure you want to use. And now we're going to hit OK. This spinning wheel is actually saving it right into our Explorer. So I'm going to bring up our Explorer right now so you can see where the cards went. And then now you can see we have Tom Brady, and then we have the date that we just made, 0/29/24, and then TB for Tom Brady. We can go inside, and then there's all our scans that we've created. So all of them displayed nicely, no issues. They're all landscaped where they need to be, and they're all portrait where they need to be. So this is absolutely perfect. This is ready for Card Dealer Pro. They all have sequential numbering here. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4. That's exactly what you need. Left to right, you want to make sure that the card is in the left. That's why we put it upside down in the 8170, because if you put it face up, then you'll have the back first, and so on and so forth. So we don't want to do that. So this is perfect. Now we're going to load up Card Dealer Pro and get these imported. All right, so now we made it into Card Dealer Pro. This should be the screen that you see here. And what we want to do to add to our batch is either go into the batch section, or you can create a new batch here. But before we do, I actually want to show you 2 templates that are going to be necessary for what we're about to do. So we're going to go over to our account over here, And then within our account, you'll see account settings. Just go through there. And then at the very bottom, you'll see templates. So click on templates, and you can see what I've designated as default here are the main ones we're going to focus on. So title template here, let me show you what that is. So title template here will allow you basically your subject within eBay, right? And what it looks like when your auctions are on eBay. So I have player, set, subset, then card. So for me, basically what it would show up as Bo Jackson, and then it would be 1996 tops traded, and then such and such card number, and then the attribute or variation would show rookie, and so on and so forth. If it was a numbered card like 50 out of 99 or what have you, that's where numerical would pick up. Because none of these would apply except for just RC or rookie, the very next thing then would be Kansas City Royals, right, for that particular card. That's just the way I like it to show up. I have player first. Doesn't do anything to the search results. You have the year, you have the set, you have the player. Those will all be filtered in the categories and all those things as well. But I have it this way just for visual ease of use for people outside of the sports card spectrum, right? Let's say mom and dad or grandma and grandpa are searching for cards. Most likely they're just going to sit there and type Bo Jackson cards, right? They're not going to type 1996, this, that, and the other. So I just have it easier from a visual perspective. So as they're scrolling through, if they see a bunch of years and then all of a sudden they see Bo Jackson, maybe that might kind of show up a little bit better for them. So that's the only reason I do it. You can organize it any way you choose. Not going to change the search results or the search function at all. Then another thing you want to have is your description template, right? This shows up as the item description for every card that you list. I have a few, whether it's graded or top loaded or what have you, but the main one we're going to focus on is the penny sleeve. And here's what mine looks like. Again, you kind of use the same variation from the title, but instead it'll say here you will receive a near mint or excellent, whatever the condition is set for. And then of course here we go again, the Bo Jackson 1986 tops traded, so on and so forth. And then I've added the word card just because I think it looks better when they're going through the description. That way they know it's a card, right? Some people sometimes try to sell digital or they sell pins or pennants or whatever. So I want them to know that it's a card. And then this little note, I'll show you how I make use of that later. So really cool if there's any slight imperfections or you want to just address something to them and you don't have to individually change your description every single time. I'll show you how this little note here makes it super helpful to be able to do that. And then depending on how many YouTube videos you see, how many tutorials you see, a lot of this boilerplate here is actually from JMac Sports Cards. So thank you, Jason and JMac Sport Cards. Watched a lot of your videos, love all your videos, and used a lot of this here. So thank you for that. So some of you guys may notice that, but so that's what I have here set up for the type of condition, the scratches, and all so on and so forth. And then also down here at the bottom, because I'm a relatively new seller or haven't sold since essentially 2013, just getting back into it with my 9-year-old son Dexter, wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of the conditions and how we take care of cards, right? So very important to us that even our common cards, they're going to be penny sleeve, they're going to be top loaded, they're going to be in a team bag. Everything doesn't matter if it's a 99-cent card or a $10 card. Higher, obviously now it starts to matter more, and we'll protect it more and beyond that. But all of our cards that we sell all get penny sleeved, all get top loaded, all get put in a team bag. They're all sent in a secured envelope best we can, right? So very proud of it. Actually, let me show you one thing. So we buy and sell and cards we own and cards we get, right? But we got this card from one of our lots. We had a lot of cards included in the lot, so it's not a big deal, but it's too bad for Barry Sanders. But there's a little ding on that corner. I don't know if it shows up well. And there's also a ding on this corner here as well. So a card like this is just a card that gets loved by me and Dexter, right? It'll never go onto our auctions. I would never sell a card in this type of condition. I would never even put good or very good or anything like that. This card just now becomes a part of our personal collection for me and Dexter, and just goes in our storage back there and gets the love that way. But you guys will never have to deal with that. So all of our cards, we pride ourselves on having. I know it says here EX to near mint, but the reality that is just simply for super old vintage cards, right? 79 and lower, 78 and lower, things that we can't control. Cards that have character at that point, right? Cards that are still valuable even in those conditions. That's where that comes from. But anything modern, anything 1980 or newer, we wouldn't sell with anything like this. Okay, so that's the template all kind of explained, and I'll show you how those immediately become useful here in a moment. And so now from here we can just go right to add cards. We're going to create a new batch, and then I'm going to use the same folder name as my batch name, and I'll also use it as my SKU name here in a minute. So 022924, and then TB for Tom Brady. They are sports trading cards. You can also select trading cards games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, and whatnot, but everything that we're dealing with right now is all sports trading cards. And then Tom Brady played football, so we're going to go through and select football, but you can see you have other options within here. And you can customize that. You can add your own. If I get time, I'd love to do a second video, right? A much more advanced or deeper dive and go through all of that. But so here's where the title shows up. This is where the title that I just showed you is used. You can use whatever you want, and it can change based on sport. I haven't found a reason why the one that I showed you seems to work for all examples, so I use that. And then here's the low-end shipping example that I showed you as well. Again, if it was a graded card or a top-loaded card, I have a few that have kind of just remained in top loaders or come in top loaders, and because of the 8170, I can scan in a top loader, so I might use that. I've used that for a few, but in this particular example, we'll just use penny sleeve. Here, just near mint or better. This whole screen, to be perfectly honest with you, is irrelevant. I don't think most of us are going to have a cabinet and a shelf organization. I do have a cabinet and a shelf that I actually use, but there's a much better system that I use. I use a date-based system, which I'll show in a different video as well, how I organize my cards and all that. So this really isn't relevant. You can treat it like a Chronosio chrono card type situation where you can put box 1, row 1, section C, and all those things. But I haven't found this useful. So let's just ignore this screen. Go to create batch. I wish, just a side note, I've asked them before, I wish they would allow us to put our custom SKU here or something that would be relevant, because nothing that you put here shows up on any part of the batch screen itself, any part of the card designation, nothing. None of this shows up there with the exception of the near mint or better. So go ahead and create batch. And then we are going to use Magic Scan. You can search by certification if you have a graded card from PSA or SGC. They now just recently added this, so you can just put the cert number and add them that way. You can just manually search, but what we're going to do, our bread and butter here is Magic Scan. You're going to, I think 99% of you are going to want to use Magic Scan, and so do I. I love Magic Scan, and here we go. And of course, because we're doing trading cards, we're going to do the front and back sides. Just click that. And then here, I'm going to grab the folder that you saw a minute ago with all the Tom Brady images. I'm going to browse over to that here. And then I'm just going to highlight all the files, and I'm going to drag them over. And I can see, I like dragging them just for extra peace of mind, but I can see that it's 30 images. So I know that's the 30 scans that I did. It's the 15 cards that I'm waiting for. And as soon as I let go, Card Dealer Pro is going to reiterate the 15 cards, right? So once I drag it over, let go, there's the 15 cards that I'm looking for. Wait for it to finish processing, which is always super, super quick. We have everything in the proper orientation. The 15 cards are done. Going to hit continue. And this brings us to our first part of the Card Dealer Pro inspector screen, right? So it's processed all of them. They're all done. These are all the cards that have done. It only didn't find one. So that's fantastic. I'm going to show you, there's a few, I purposely picked this set because there's a few that got incorrectly set up, right? Like a gold refractor. This one got set up as red. So I'm going to show you some easy ways to go through that. One of them didn't get found at all, so I'm going to show you all that. We'll start with the gold refractor here, right? So if it found the gold refractor, you have a couple of choices, right? So one is you can help it find another match, which you can go here, but it's not a kickoff edition, right? So it would be this regular edition, and you can just select match, and it'll change it over. It'll get rid of it all. I don't like that it does this card number A thing. I don't know why they have it that way. I haven't found, there's no use for it, right? So you can just, I don't know what W2 either, but we're just going to change it to 115. You lose the match, but everything else stays relevant. All your tops, your brand, everything is still relevant, so you don't have to worry about any of that. The grading condition is set, and then here's where you can price it out for eBay. So we'll do that in a minute, but everything else is already set. You don't have to worry about anything else. Let's just make sure all these are okay. This one here, no. So there's a different variation here, and so having our scans kind of helps. So the rookies and stars is the one that we need, so we'll just hit select match. Then when you get to stuff like this, when you know it's the draft picks, but it's not red, you actually have a choice. So instead of just selecting here, you can actually just remove the red. You see the red up here? You can actually just remove the red here, and it's the right card. It picks it up. It doesn't matter that it's not visibly shown as a match down here at the bottom anymore. So super, super quick way without having to click through and find the match and all that. So I love doing it that way. It's much easier. Playoff Prestige, this Philadelphia Classics. All these look good. This is definitely not a gold. So again, the same thing. So this thinks it's a gold serial numbered, right? Because this one here most likely is serial numbered. Probably on the front. No, somewhere it's got to be serial numbered. Oh, right here on the side. I missed it. Right here. So it's a serial numbered gold, right? But in this case, ours definitely is not. So the easiest way, instead, you can go through the possible matches and select the new tops and hit select here, and it'll just it'll get rid of the serial number, or it'll get rid of the gold, but it won't get rid of the serial number. So you have to make sure you go through and remove the serial number from this, and that's why you have it up here as well. And that's all done. It's 2010 tops, draft history, perfect. Sometimes if you're not sure, like I found on the rookies and stars earlier, you can always look at the other two matches and see if there's anything that's dramatically different. You notice on this one here, it shows brown. I don't believe mine is brown. And then if I'm not sure, I always err on the side of the cheaper one or the less valuable one. I'd much rather pass the savings on to somebody else. I'd much rather lose $1 or $2 and have the savings go to the customer than to inadvertently select that it's a special brown edition and I should be getting $1 more or any variant more, even if it's the same price. I don't want to. I'd rather them get a bonus or a benefit than not. And just as a side note too, if you guys are ever buying any of my auctions or doing anything with Monterey Sports Cards, which me and Dex would greatly appreciate, but if you ever do, our pictures are always exactly the card. So if I ever happen to mess up and it happens to say gold, or it happens to say, or if it's a picture and it doesn't say gold, but the picture clearly shows that it is a gold, the picture is absolutely what you are getting. You're always going to get whatever this picture is. So please always go by the card or have faith. That card is absolutely what you're going to get. And if I ever make a mistake and I don't put that it's gold, but I intended to have it be gold, again, the error is always going to go in your favor. Even if it's a $10, $15, $20 error, always going to go in your favor. You're going to always have the card that's pictured, always. And so we have to correct this one here. What I like to do is I like to open the back of the card. Once I have the back open here, I move it just a little bit out of the screen so I can see the matched images. And then I just grab, you can do like the number, so you can do a bunch of different variations. You can always try, right? Like Tom Brady Icons 2009. You can always see if that's good enough. And sure enough, right? We got lucky. So I go in and put that in here. I select match, and then all this gets instantly populated by Card Dealer Pro. So I love this. I can't thank Ted and team enough for this program. So sometimes I just love just being in here and just messing with it. So it's fantastic and learning new stuff every day. So once that's done, I won't bore you with all of the pricing, right? But we'll just go through one pricing example. So once you have this card here, you can go over to pricing and inventory, and you notice it shows up as red here, and you can see that on the side as well. When it shows up as red, you can opt to click pricing research, and it'll show some recent examples. I've usually found this not to be terribly accurate, because even though it says ungraded, I gotta believe that some of these $9 and $24 variants and $32, these gotta be graded examples. I don't think these are raw cards being sold. So what I like to do is you can use eBay listings and sales down here, or I never usually even go into pricing research. And what I do instead is I just go right to eBay sales, right? So I'll click eBay sales. We'll look, DC Sports always has $475, so you got to assume they did a bundle of cards, so they didn't just pay $575 for this card. This is pretty realistic, probably $325, $3. Here's the $24 example. That's obviously because it's numbered, low numbered, die cut, so much different than what we have. $1.99, $6.50. They paid, I don't know, hopefully somebody realized they were paying $5.55. So it looks like about $3.90 or $3, $2.99 is a good price, right? So I always want to, especially being newer, trying to give customers the best value. I'm going to err on the side of a lower value as well. So I'm going to just put that here at $2.99, and then you can notice it changed from red here, and then it just put ready to list. And now instead of 15 items, I'm only dealing with 14, and then I'll go through and price all of the other ones and be right back. All right, we're back. I have everything priced. I wanted to leave this screen on just so you guys could see. Once you're done with that, right, you go through, you set the price on the card, you just hit mark as ready to list, and then you can just do that for each of the cards, right? So all the cards are now ready to list. And then I've done one very particular thing I've set up in Card Dealer Pro is over here when you go to the overview. If you notice that my screen is all yellow, the yellow though, however, is very specific to the way I've set it up and the way I like to organize my cards based on the batch number. So let me show you that right now. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on our account. We're gonna go to account settings, and then what you wanna do, or what I do, and I'll show you how or why it's useful for me and why I like it. But I'm gonna use inventory here. And by default, CDP has automatically generated SKUs. Let me just, right here, and it generates a SKU, and you'll see your cards going up numerically here. But what I've done is I don't want it to automatically generate SKUs for cards. So I purposely have it off. And by having it off, what that does, let me get back to our batch, sorry, is that makes this screen yellow. And the reason it's yellow is because we have not set our SKU yet. Our SKU is completely blank. And so what this does to me is this is a reminder that, hey, I haven't cataloged my cards yet. I haven't organized them. I haven't put them in the box where I need to go. I use a date-based system. So any cards that I list today or any batches that I create today are all going to be numbered 02, 29, 24, and then some kind of hyphen variant, right? Either Tom Brady, PM for Patrick Mahomes, or if I'm doing just a bunch of random Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, and all these other cards mixed together, then I'll just do hyphen A for like a batch of 15 cards, and then hyphen B if it's another 15 cards. And then that all just gets organized under today's date, 02, 29, 24, in a tab, in a box. I'll go over that in a video, with an advanced video pretty soon. But here, what you want to do, this is another important part, first, actually let me set the SKU first. So in order to set the SKU for all of them, you can just click right at the top, and then here, instead of automatically generate, you just set the SKUs to the same value. And here I just make it exactly the same as I have my batch here at the top, which is the same as what I have on my eBay scan folder, which is the same as what I use inside the box behind me there. And so what I do is 02, 29, 24, TB, and I hit fill selected. They all get filled in, and now that it's white, I know, for me, peace of mind, what this tells me is if even if I forget any of the other things here, which we'll go over in a minute, if I forget all those other things and I go right to exporting my cards to eBay, I know that whenever one of these cards sell, that they'll be designated the custom SKU for today's date, and I'll have no problem finding it. Early on, I thought I was really good at it, thought I had everything dialed, but there was one batch within a series of A, B, C, D. There was one alphabet that I forgot to add the SKU to, and of course, as cards started getting sold, they just showed up as the generic Card Dealer Pro 10013. I had no idea, so I had to find them. I had to fix that problem. I put a little sticker to remind me, so I had to disable that option within Card Dealer Pro to avoid that. So this is a really good thing if you're going to do any kind of rows, shelves, dates, whatever you're going to do. Highly recommend disabling that feature in Card Dealer Pro until they can fix the batch screen or until they adjust the batch screen, which I would love for them to do. But until that's done, this is how we do it. Another thing I'm going to show you here, just to speed you up. You can see some of the brands didn't get identified. A lot of times it's Upper Deck, Playoff, Sage, some other things. So one thing you do, like most people, right, when you're going to go through here, you're just going to type Prestige, and then you're going to hit enter. When you hit enter, it gets frozen. I'm trying to scroll my screen right now. I'm trying to use it gets frozen. You can't use it for a second, and now it becomes available. To avoid that, what you can do is you can actually, like, if you copy, when you go in here, paste, but don't click away, right? By not clicking away, the screen is going to stay. As soon as I click away, then I can go right into the next one, right? If I don't hit enter, I can go right into the next one. So I'm going to type Philadelphia, and I'm not going to hit enter. And by not hitting enter, I'm going to click right here, and I can immediately start typing Upper Deck. And over here, I can immediately start typing Upper Deck. So really helpful. And when I click away, it's perfect, right? It's only if I hit enter that I can't use it anymore. So really super helpful. And then another thing you can do, let's say these three Upper Decks were blank. What you can do is type Upper Deck, hold Control and press A. Once it's highlighted, hold Control and C for copy. And then click in here, Control V, click in here, Control V, and it's done. You don't have to wait for anything. Super easy, right? Just try it on your own. If you haven't already, go in there and just type it manually, press enter, and you have to wait for, because it's a web-based app or I don't know what, but you have to wait enough time to where it's annoying after you do it 4 or 5 times. So hopefully that's a little time saver. You can use that in all different sections. Some of the things over here, I wish I'd had, right, but the attributes would show up. Like, I'm going to turn this one so you can see, right? Let's make this a little bit bigger. I'll use this 2009 Topps example. So if that one was a rookie, you would have the attribute RC. You press enter, and then because you have the attribute set from the title that I showed you before, when you scroll back over, you can see here that the Tom Brady 2009 Topps now shows RC or rookie, right? You can type whatever you'd like in here. So super helpful that it shows up that way, right? If you want it to have rookie, you can go over here and then it changes to rookie. So super helpful, super cool that that's there. That's why we have those tags in the title. Same thing for variation. If it's going to be pink or purple or whatever it might be, you might also use that in the subset here. To be honest, I very rarely use variation itself, but I have it just in case I need that extra space. Then over here, obviously it's not graded. All the conditions are near mint. None of this matters again, but here is where the note becomes valuable. And then you can also move all these things too, right? Like, let's say these purchase dates and grades are in the way, certs, you can always grab the note and move it into a different spot. So super helpful. I like doing that all the time, but just personal preference for me. You can also, like, truncate all of these too if these are in your way, but they're not necessary. You just double click if you want to extend them back, just like you would in Excel. But these notes. So here, let's say that this particular card, this 2012 Panini Elite, let's say, like, when I was viewing it, let's say, like, this sheen on here was not actually just from, like, the reflection, but let's say this was actually a problem on the card after reviewing. I know the card is fantastic, at least especially for, dollar cards that are being sold, right? But Let's say there was a noticeable issue, or this line was actually on the card and it's not just from the scan. Then what you do, and I'll show you the note over here, you go to the note section that we've added, and you could put like slight crease on lower left corner, something like that, right? And then when you put that in, as soon as you do that, because we have the note over here, this is where the note gets taken over. And it doesn't show, if you don't put anything, it doesn't show. It's just blank and it's not intrusive. It doesn't show anything at all. So when we create the note, it shows right here, slight crease on lower left corner. So really cool to have that. That's why we have that in that section. That's why we have it there. I love that. So really great. Now, once we have that all done, we're ready to list. By the way, in case you're wondering, the green check just means a match has been found and a match has been added to it, like in the inspector view. But the other one's no match at the bottom. So it'll show up as blue, indicating you can still fill in a match. But again, as long as all of this stuff is on here, that's what eBay sees. That what goes on the CSV file, that's what's important. So no big deal. One omission you might see if this is the first time you're doing this, or you might be asking, how do you handle multiple cards? How do you handle quantity, right? Unfortunately, right now, in the current state of Card Dealer Pro, as of February 29th, 2024, you can't do quantity directly within Card Dealer Pro. But you absolutely can do quantity after you export, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So we are ready to export. We are going to export to eBay. You can manage your connections and you can do all these other things, or if you have other platforms that can handle a raw Excel file, you can use that here by exporting all data. But for our purposes, we're going to export ready to list cards. And then you want to pause at this screen. You don't want to quickly go into download CSV. This arrow gives you more options, right? So just be mindful that those are there. This gives you a rundown of what's being prepared. All right, so from here, you just want to click right on here. And this brings up your settings. I have mine set as Monterey settings, but you're welcome to, put your whatever name you want. You're not going to use Monterey settings, but you want to make sure, obviously, it's the trading card singles, which is what we had before. Here's where you input your store category. I have mine ready to go. So this is my category number for Tom Brady. So that's used for me. I use fixed price. I'm going to use the sales price here. I always want to allow everybody to submit a best offer. Sometimes I might put my cards a little bit higher because either I'm hoping the player is going to get a little bit hotter. Sometimes I like the card. Me and Dexter love the card a little bit more, so we put a little bit more value on it. But we always put allow buyers to send an offer. So if, let's say I put a card either inadvertently or intentionally, because again, I think they're going to be hot for $5.99, but somebody tonight, tomorrow, whatever, wants to buy a card and the going price right now is $2.99. If you put in an offer and I want to sell it or what have you, I'm gonna just sell it to you immediately for $2.99 or whatever the case might be, right? So that goes to all cards in all scenarios. The downside of you guys buying and not having it as an offer, or having it as an offer, is you don't get the advantage of the coupon discount, which we should always be running. If you don't see any coupons running on my store, you can always message me and I'll add them or reactivate them as soon as I can, because I always want to make sure selling these lower value cards, the $10 or less cards, I always think you guys should always have a discount when you're buying more than one card. So just that's what that's for. Good till canceled, of course. Scheduled start time or make live immediately. I think there's a great value, which I'll go through in the advanced video for Card Dealer Pro using a scheduled start time. So, but you can always just right now make live immediately using eBay standard envelope is key. That's how you're going to keep your money. So make sure you have that selected. Handling time for now until I'm ready to go onto the top rated seller platform. I'm just using it 3 days for now so I can get my feet under my ground and then free shipping, of course. All of the auctions from Monterey Sports Cards are always free. Well, that's where I live. And then we're just going to save the changes. Once I know that that's good, I've put in my store category. I've put in the date if I am going to do a date, or if I have it set to live immediately. You just hit download CSV. Right. If you're familiar with Excel, you go straight to the quantity, change it. You know what you're doing. Have no problem with that. But for those that may not know Excel or may not be terribly comfortable with an Excel, one of the things you can do, or what I like to do, is I'll just grab like right after card number, because card number is pretty important to me. So I'll just click right on the Y, and now I'm holding Shift on my keyboard. I'm going to move my mouse right before starting price. So duration right here, AW, and I'm going to click my mouse here while I'm holding Shift. That highlights this whole section. I'm going to right click anywhere here, and I'm just going to hit hide. And when you hit hide, all of those just visually go away, right? They're still in the file. eBay's still going to see them just the same, but I'm just visually hiding them here. And that allows me to kind of look through, hey, 2012 Panini Elite, card 57, how many do I have? And then I can adjust, oh, I have 3 of these. Okay, well, that's fine. This card 88, rookies, not gridiron, right? Because those happen to be the same card number, right? So it's the rookies that I have more. So maybe I have 5 of the rookies. And then the Panini Classic, card number 59, I have 18. Another thing you can do as well, let's say you didn't want to hide, or that's too much extra work. You want to go back and not be bothered with that. What you can do is, let's say you're over here on the quantity and you're not sure, like, well, is that the 150 card number? I can't quite tell. There's indicators, right? There's indicators at the 14 that tell you. There's some good indicators, but if for whatever reason you're not terribly sure because it's a little far away, but you don't want to hide, what you can do is actually just click on the 14, and that'll highlight the whole section, right? So now you can see, hey, this whole section here, and this card 150, that's the one I want quantity 10, so I put 10. What about card 79? You can click on this again, and it'll highlight the whole thing for you. So really simple, really easy to do. And then once you're done, you can just hit this disk up here to save, or you can go to File and Save. Either one, it's not a problem. Once you have your CSV file, we move over to eBay. Okay, now that we've made our way over to eBay, where you'd want to go is onto My eBay and Selling right here. And then from Selling, you'd go over to Reports. And then here, you'd upload your template, right? So you would just select Upload Template. Of course, you want to choose your file for the template. This pop-up screen will show up. And then here you can select any of the different CSV files you had. You can see I've done Tatis, O'Neal Cruz, Acuna Jr., Tom Brady, and then I just did a random hodgepodge of some baseball cards. I had various stars. I had Judge, Volpe, De La Cruz, so on and so forth in that batch. But ours, for this particular example, would be the 229 TB15. You just select that. There you go. You can see the upload is completed here for the Tom Brady. And then over here, it shows completed. So all good on there. And then when you go to your listings, you can go, we did Make Live Now, so all those cards are active, ready to go. But otherwise, if you had to do it scheduled, then you could see it here in the scheduled section. All right, guys, I think that's it for the video. Thank you so much for following along. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me and my son, so can't thank you enough. If you have any questions or concerns or have any improvements or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll go through and read every single one of them if I can. So thank you again, and have a wonderful day.